Actor Woody McClain, best known for his powerful performances that often demand emotional vulnerability, recently stirred up curiosity and anticipation across social media platforms after he issued a cryptic and heartfelt apology directed toward Cam Newton and his team. This gesture came ahead of a highly anticipated podcast interview between McClain and the former NFL quarterback, scheduled to be released on Saturday morning, June 7th. Although the apology was vague, it hinted that something intense, maybe even uncomfortably real, had taken place during the filming of the interview. On Sunday, June 1st, Woody took to Twitter, now called X, to issue a public apology, simply writing, "I want to apologize to Cam and his team for my actions on his podcast." No further context was given, yet the tweet quickly went viral, capturing the attention of fans and fellow celebrities alike. There was no mention of what exactly happened, but the tone was sincere, laced with regret, and clearly emotional. 3. Ambiguity only intensified when Cam Newton released a teaser trailer that hinted at something raw and deeply personal unfolding during their exchange. The clip, though brief, showed McClain in visible distress, suggesting an emotionally charged moment had emerged in what was initially thought to be a casual and friendly conversation. The clip didn't give away too much, but it was just enough to get people talking. In it, Cam can be seen sitting across from Woody, leaning in slightly, his posture relaxed but his tone inquisitive. "I'm always curious to ask this," he says with a thoughtful expression. "When you tap into an emotion, have you acknowledged that emotion as real or fake? Is it always real?" What began as a simple question about acting suddenly cracked open a floodgate of vulnerability. At first, McClain tries to maintain his composure, but his response quickly betrays the weight he's carrying. His voice trembles, his eyes glisten, and before long, the walls start to crumble. In those few moments, Woody McClain wasn't acting. There was no character, no pretense, no camera ready. Persona. It was just him, raw, exposed, human. As he started to answer Cam's question, it became clear that this wasn't just about the craft of acting. This was about life, perception, trauma, and the crushing burden of constantly being misunderstood. "I want to be very strategic of what I pick," he said, his voice beginning to crack, "because I don't want everybody to keep perceiving me as this bad person." It was a quiet but powerful statement, one that hinted at much deeper pain than anyone in the room or watching later might have expected. This wasn't a publicity stunt. It wasn't a carefully staged emotional breakdown designed for views or engagement. This was real. Something inside McClain had been triggered by that question. Something unresolved, something heavy. And instead of fighting it, instead of brushing it off with a laugh or deflecting with humor, he allowed himself to feel it, to sit in it, even as the cameras rolled. At that moment, the energy shifted. What had started as a promotional interview suddenly turned into something else entirely. It became a space of emotional exploration. Cam, to his credit, handled the moment with immense grace and maturity. He didn't rush McClain, didn't pry, didn't try to fix the moment. Instead, he gave him permission to pause, to step away, to gather himself. McClain's choice to leave the set wasn't impulsive or dramatic. It was a quiet assertion of self-respect. He didn't storm off or cause a scene. He simply excused himself, took a breath, and walked away. Not from the interview, but from the weight of expectation. And that, in many ways, made the moment even more powerful. Because in a culture obsessed with watching people unravel for entertainment, here was a man choosing peace over performance. But what makes this story even more impactful is what happened next. McClain didn't stay gone. He didn't disappear into the green room or refuse to continue. After a few moments of solitude, he returned. Not because he had to, not because someone told him to, but because he wanted to. He came back with his head high, a little more composed, but still visibly emotional. He resumed the conversation, not as a man pretending nothing happened, but as someone who had just lived through something deeply personal and decided to keep going anyway. That kind of emotional transparency is rare, especially in the world of entertainment. Most actors are trained to control their emotions, to shield themselves from too much exposure. Vulnerability is often curated, packaged, and delivered on cue. But what happened between Woody and Cam wasn't scripted. It wasn't part of the show. It was real life interrupting the performance. In the hours that followed Woody's tweet, speculation spread like wildfire. Fans scoured past interviews for clues. Some assumed the actor had a breakdown related to a personal loss or career pressure. Others wondered if the moment stemmed from trauma, unresolved pain, or perhaps a public scandal still haunting him. Though McClain has always maintained a level of privacy about his personal life, he has never been shy about expressing his feelings, especially when they intersect with his work as an actor. He's spoken before about the pressures of being a Black actor in Hollywood, the weight of representation, and the scrutiny that comes with even the smallest missteps. So when he said, "I don't want everybody to keep perceiving me as this bad person," it hit different. It wasn't just about roles or typecasting. It was about identity, about trying to protect the person behind the roles, about how exhausting it is to constantly feel the need to explain yourself, to the media, to the fans, even to yourself. In a world that demands constant availability and authenticity, McClain's decision to hit pause felt revolutionary. Cam Newton, known not just for his athleticism, but also for his introspective nature, handled the moment with a kind of compassion. That's rare in media today. Rather than push Woody to explain himself or exploit the moment for a viral clip, Cam held space. He allowed the silence to speak. And sometimes silence says more than words ever could. That silence, interrupted only by the sound of Woody's trembling voice, was louder than any scripted monologue. The teaser clip ends without resolution. No dramatic music, no tagline. Just an unfinished moment hanging in the air. And that was enough to set social media ablaze. Fans praised McClain for his vulnerability. Others commended Cam for creating a safe space, and many simply shared their own experiences of emotional overwhelm, recognizing themselves in Woody's tearful expression. When the full interview finally drops on June 7th, it's likely to be one of those rare episodes that transcends the usual podcast format. It won't be just an interview. It will be a human moment captured on camera. And that's what makes it so compelling, because in a world saturated with overproduced content, there's something profoundly moving about watching someone fall apart just a little, then put themselves back together, all in real time. Woody McClain didn't need to cry to prove a point. He didn't plan on breaking down or walking off set. He wasn't there to create a spectacle. What happened to him could happen to any of us. And in a way, that's what made it so unforgettable. It reminded us that even the people we admire, actors, athletes, public figures, are human. They carry pain, they doubt themselves, they have regrets. And sometimes, they need a moment. His apology, offered without explanation or justification, speaks volumes. It wasn't a PR move. It wasn't designed to diffuse controversy. It was simple, honest, and heartfelt. And in the era of apology videos and Notes app statements, that kind of sincerity feels like a breath of fresh air. The aftermath of this moment may shift how audiences see Woody McClain. For some, it will deepen their respect for him, not just as an actor, but as a man. For others, it may offer a new understanding of what emotional strength really looks like, because strength isn't about holding it all together. Sometimes strength is in the letting go, in stepping away before the pressure breaks you, in knowing when to take a breath, even with the whole world watching.